In the winter of 2019, TopSpin Technologies collaborated with students from University of Michigan School of Information. TopSpin has one product, the TopSpin 360. It is a neck strengthening device to help athletes reduce the risk of concussion. The system consists of a helmet with weighted spinning attachment and a companion mobile app that allows users to keep track of their progress during training sessions and keep track of their past sessions too. The students' work was to increase the usability and effectiveness of the companion app. The work presented here will help shape the next version of the app, which will be developed and released in the next year. The users of TopSpin 360 are athletic trainers, physical therapists, and athletes. Athletes primarily use the helmet, while the trainers and therapists use the app. Because of this, we primarily focused on the experience of app users, athletic trainers and therapists. We used several methods to understand the current state of the system, as well as the attitudes and preferences of users. We created an interaction map, conducted interviews, completed a comparative analysis, analyzed the app through heuristic evaluation, surveyed the user population, and conducted a combined usability preference test. Through this, we generated many findings. Some were more significant, and we'll focus on 4 of them here. We prioritized the findings and clustered them into 4 groups: feedback, data storage and presentation, tutorial, and improved visual design. For each finding, we will present supporting evidence from our different methods, and then we will make recommendations.
Our first primary finding is related to feedback during training session. Feedback refers to the way that the user receives information. The current system of feedback is entirely visual. We found that this method is limiting. Trainers have to focus on the screen when they should be focusing on the athlete. The athletes cannot use the screen while exercising. In our heuristic evaluation, we found that the visual use are not consistent with industry standards. For example, the screen turns green after completing one set of rotation and red at the end of the set. The industry standard is to use red only for warnings or errors. During our comparative evaluation, we found that other systems like Fitbit and Nike Run Club successfully use different types of audio feedback. We were curious about the potential for audio feedback, so we conducted a preference test. We had participants act as trainers and had them assist an athlete complete training with the TopSpin 360. We found that the voice comments were very easy to understand, and participants were able to keep their eye on the athlete during training sessions. Overall, the visual change to feedback are fairly simple. The audio is more complicated. We recommend regular testing of prototypes during the development of this feature. It may take more time to develop these features, but they will help trainers complete their work more intuitively. Also, in the future, experienced athletes may be able to train on their own if they don't have to rely on visual feedback.
Our next finding is related to data storage and presentation. This refers to the information stored on the static session of the app, including session data and notes. We found that the way the records are organized and presented do not meet users' needs. On our interview, we learned that trainers need to transcribe the stats from the app into their notes, and that their notes are organized by athlete. Our heuristic evaluation showed that this is made more difficult by a lack of visual hierarchy on the session detail pages. Trainers would also like to have more support in recording typical data about athlete form, training position, and overall progress. From our comparative analysis, we found that other systems use a variety of data visualization, like graph and charts. In addition, when we surveyed users, we found that this was the new feature that they wanted the most. From this, we have a few recommendations. First, the trainers should be able to filter or organize the stats by athlete. This app should also expand note-taking functionality, for example, adding fields for rest time and training position. Finally, we recommend integrating graph and charts. This helps the trainers and athletes understand their progress intuitively at a glance, without having to consult multiple session notes and without having to do analysis on other spreadsheet software.
Our next finding is about tutorials. By this, we mean how the users learn about functionality and also about troubleshooting. Currently, the users rely heavily on the initial in-person training sessions provided by TopSpin. From our interviews, we learned that after the in-person training, trainers mostly figure out the system on their own, adapting it to their use through trial and error. From our survey, we learned that users are interested in more in-app support. It was scored as the second highest feature that they wanted. For this, we recommend that TopSpin provides a more detailed and structured product guide. It should exist on the app, especially for new users, but also on the TopSpin website. The guide can include anything from how to pair the helmet with the app, the correct and incorrect ways of wearing the helmet, recommended training programs, a complete set of videos including athlete and helmet troubleshooting. These resources should build on the in-person training sessions. If the resources are strong enough, TopSpin may be able to train new users without visiting them in person. Our final finding is related to visual design. This is the appearance of the app as a whole, which is built from the look of smaller elements like buttons, icons, and colors. In our heuristic evaluation, we found that the use of colors, icons, buttons are not in line with design standards. This is important for two main reasons. First, it helps users navigate the app features intuitive. It makes the app easier to learn. Second, it'll help users trust the app and TopSpin as a company. Recent studies have found that users determine their feelings about a company based on the look and feel of their products. For some examples, let's look at the navigation bar of the app. Icons used for train does not align with users' expectations for training with a helmet. Another example of a small change that'll help the overall appeal of the app is the app icon that is shown on the user's home screen. Currently, it is darkened, which looks like it is updating or like it is being pressed. All these small visual discrepancies makes user less certain of the effectiveness of the entire experience of using TopSpin 360.
While we did generate several findings that informed our recommendations, there were some limitations to our methods. It was difficult for our team to get in touch with users experienced with TopSpin 360. This limited the types of findings we generated from the interviews, survey, and usability testing. Throughout the development of the next version of the system, we recommend using TopSpin's relationships to gather feedback from trainers, therapists, and athletes that are actively using the device. Their opinion is important during the development stage, and they will give TopSpin and the developers the best insights into which features to prioritize. Another topic that came to light many times was the design of the helmet. While there are certainly improvements to be made in the app, it became apparent that the helmet design could be improved. Mostly, it takes a long time to switch between athletes, especially for trainers and athletes that do not regularly use football helmets. For them, the helmet is uncomfortable in general. We understand that this is a more costly change and that it is outside our project scope, but TopSpin should keep in mind as they continue to empathize with users and continuously improve the product. We would like to thank TopSpin Technologies for working with us on this project. We enjoyed learning about neck strengthening as we learned about a variety of research methods. Thank you.